Hello, saluton. I'm Catherine, and today I'd like to talk to you about the Esperanto language. Now, it's a common misconception that the Esperanto language is dead, and it's not exactly the case, hence why I'm making this video under the hashtag Esperanto lives. So, what is Esperanto? Esperanto is a planned language that was invented in the late 19th century by Dr. L.L. Zamenhof. So it's been around for well over 100 years. And I use the word planned because it seems like many people get this impression that Esperanto is this invented language and Dr. Zamenhof just plucked words out of his head and said, hey, this is Esperanto, come learn it. And this is absolutely not the case. The vast majority of Esperanto vocabulary is based on languages that already existed, principally Latin and other Romance languages. But there's also quite a bit of Germanic languages, like German and English, a little bit of Polish words, I think a little bit of Greek as well. So it's a mix of languages that already exist. What Esperanto is it has simplified spelling, very simplified grammar, and certain elements of grammar that made it much easier to learn, to use and to communicate with, which gives it an advantage over other languages that have more complex grammar and take longer to learn. This was part of a movement of, this transnational, we can all communicate with each other and have world peace when we have conflict. At least this was kind of the ideal of Esperanto at the beginning, which gives people the misconception that Esperantists today, or Esperanto speakers today, are all, all these idealists who believe in, world peace and fluffy bunnies and rainbows everywhere, which is not at all the case. Esperanto speakers, the vast majority of them, are very aware that simply having a common language is not going to solve world peace. They are in fact quite diverse and learn Esperanto for a wide variety of reasons and use Esperanto in a wide variety of ways. Many people use it for traveling, especially before the internet. So before couchsurfing, you basically had Esperanto couchsurfing. This book of addresses of Esperanto speakers in any country in the world. You look up the address, you go and you basically have free housing, food, and most importantly, a local person who speaks a common language with you. So if you go to Indonesia, China, Brazil, you might not speak Chinese, but you could call up an Esperanto speaker. You automatically have that connection with them, which gives you a much closer, much more intimate experience with the local culture as you're traveling. So many people learn Esperanto simply to travel, and that continues to this day. Meeting people from other cultures. If you wanted to learn about French culture, or German culture, or Indonesian culture, you would learn those particular languages. But if you simply want to meet a lot of people from all around the world, just with one language, Esperanto is a very efficient way to do this, because Esperanto speakers are extremely diverse. They come from all parts of the globe, and it's very social. I mean, it's kind of the only language where people learn it essentially just to make friends in new languages. So I know of people who learned Esperanto just on a whim, just because, and then they stayed because they got involved in the community and they started making friends and getting to know people from all these different countries. And they stay for the social reasons. Someone once told me that if you want to make money, learn English, but if you want to make friends, learn Esperanto. Within Esperanto, you have special interest groups, so different people are using Esperanto in different ways. In my hometown in Oregon, the Esperanto group is very into vegetarianism and environmental protection. And where I'm living in France, our local Esperanto group is really into literature and poetry. So every time we meet, we have like a text of that we discuss, and we discuss the creativity that's involved in it. I've seen groups that use Esperanto as a medium for social justice issues, kind of translate things from different languages so that they can work together on that. Wikipedia Esperanto Wikipedia was one of the biggest in the early years of Wikipedia. There's even like a group of Catholic Esperantists in the Vatican who are using Esperanto kind of as a new Latin and the Pope even gives blessings in Esperanto. So it's really diverse. It's definitely not just a little group of activists. It's very diverse group of people. Another reason why people learn Esperanto, and the reason why I learned Esperanto, is because it helps you to learn other languages. They've done a lot of studies that show that if you learn Esperanto, then the time and effort that you need to expend to learn other languages is greatly reduced, because it teaches you basically how language works and how to learn a foreign language without banging your head against all the irregular verbs and complex grammar. So even though I'd already studied other languages before, Esperanto helps me understand my other languages that I'm learning. So complex Arabic grammar, Esperanto helped me learn it. I never would have expected that. What I really liked about it too is that you can learn it so much more quickly. So with other languages, you're spending so much time like, how do you take the bus to here? Or I would like a cup of coffee. Whereas in Esperanto, after just a couple months perhaps, I was able to discuss politics and philosophy and really interesting subjects that I would have had to spend much more time learning a different language in order to get to that level of proficiency. So that was really cool. I really enjoyed that. There's a great TED Talk called Learn Esperanto First. If you're really skeptical about Esperanto in general, and you're wondering what practical, concrete benefits can come out of it, then I highly recommend this by Tim Morley. I'll put a link in the description. But language learning is definitely not the only benefit that I've gotten from Esperanto. When I first moved to my new city, I signed up for the local Esperanto conversation group. Figured, I like languages, it's close by, I've heard about Esperanto, it's interesting. Why not? I don't really know people yet. And the people in my group started kind of questioning, like, you're not really into Esperanto, you don't really like it, you're just liking languages. So, yeah, that's why I'm here. Sorry. But then the more I got into it, especially the more I got kind of immersed in the culture and, exposed to other Esperanto speakers, the more I got into it. One thing that many people are passionate about within the Esperanto community is neutral communication. So here in France, I'm always at a bit of a disadvantage because I'm not a native French speaker. And the same thing, if we were to all speak English, I would be at an advantage, and everyone else would be at a disadvantage. Whereas with Esperanto, it's like everyone on all sides made the effort to be able to communicate with each other. And that's something I do appreciate, and I know people who are really passionate about that. It's also, like I said, very diverse. So if you want to make friends from everywhere, Esperanto is a great way to do it. Not everyone speaks English. I ran into a guy in a chat room, and I didn't know the word for something in Esperanto, so I tried asking him what it was in English, and he was like, I don't speak English. I speak only Esperanto and Chinese. And so instead of him putting a ton of effort to learn English and me putting a ton of effort into learning Chinese, we can both speak Esperanto and have a conversation together that otherwise never would have been possible. Like I said, traveling and all the friends that I've made. And one of the most surprising benefits that I've gotten from learning Esperanto is that my life is culturally and artistically enriched. I feel like, from my observations, the Esperanto community has a much higher proportion than average of people who are into music, poetry, literature, creativity. They want to write and sing their own songs. And in Esperanto, they want to write books. I have a friend who writes haiku in Esperanto. I did not discuss poetry and in literature for years until I started learning Esperanto again. And then all of a sudden my life is just much more culturally enriched than it was before. So today is Zamenhof Day. This is the most significant holiday in Esperanto culture. Many people say, Esperanto has culture, but isn't it an invented language? Well, yes, it has culture. It's been around for 100 years. It's over 100 years. It's had time to develop its culture. If we define culture, so culture as the art and other manifestations of human intellectual achievement regarded collectively, or the ideas, customs, and social behavior of a particular people in society. Esperanto has both. In literature, as I mentioned before, we have probably one of the highest ratio of published literature versus number of speakers versus when compared to other languages. Usually on Zamenhof Day we buy or promote Esperanto literature, and some of it is very high quality, even nominated for a Nobel Prize at one point. The nature of Esperanto makes it very flexible and very easy to kind of adapt and be very creative with it. It's kind of like you have a bunch of little Legos that you put together. It's quite fun, and yeah, the people in the world of literature have definitely jumped on this in order to create their own works. We also have musicians and celebrities that are known throughout the Esperanto world. The most commonly known, I would say, is JoMo, who is more like pop rock standards. He's been around for a while. He's very widely known and sings at a lot of the Esperanto events. We have new stars such as Jonny M, who does Esperanto reggae. I personally like La Perdita Generacio, who is more alternative, laid back. So if we define culture by the arts and kind of the works that are being collectively produced, we definitely have that. As far as customs, we have Zamenhof Day, annual meetings all around the world, some international, some regional, local meetings. The youth, Esperanto youth, even have their own traditions. They have a big New Year's Eve party every year that lasts, I think, for a week. They also have the Gafuyo, where people get to talk together by candlelight. It's an evening tradition that they have at the gatherings. There's even retreats for families who are raising their kids with Esperanto. Some because they decided to teach their kids Esperanto, but some just because they met at Esperanto gatherings and fell in love and started a family, and Esperanto is their common language, so the kids are learning Esperanto quite naturally. My local group is, many people from my local French group are now in Italy. The Italians invited us over to celebrate Zamenhof Day for really living the purpose of Esperanto, to be able to communicate internationally and across language barriers. And I fortunately couldn't go, but they're singing and having shared meals and generally celebrating. So also for Zamenhof Day, Esperanto is not dying, but many people have this impression because it's changing. The older associations and the local groups are slowly dwindling, but online it is really, it's probably the biggest period of growth in Esperanto history. So in order to promote awareness of this, that the fact that Esperanto is not dead, and in fact it's growing, it's just changing. People are using it online more than they're using it offline as before. We are using the hashtag Esperanto Lives. So if you thought this was interesting, or if you have your own experiences with Esperanto, please share this video or make your own, or write something on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, with the hashtag Esperanto Lives to let people know and clear up the misconceptions. And if you'd like to see what Esperanto is all about, and or see what it's like to learn Esperanto, I'll put some links in the description as well. So, dankon, thank you for listening, and gis, goodbye.